So we're here with Jackie Earle Haley, and I was just about to say, we're like you were saying, if we run out of stuff to talk about, just wrap it up. But I was like, you've had over 50 years of being a working actor. I mean, that's impressive, man. Longevity in this business, 50 years.
Yeah, I started when I was 5.
I mean, that's incredible.
5 years old, yeah.
And you were able to make the transition from a child actor into adult actor.
Not really. I mean, ultimately, yeah, but there was this period of time where, I was a really successful child actor, and, kind of continued on into my late teens. And then in the early 20s, it kind of, started to drift, and I was kind of hanging in there trying to, go to auditions and get things to happen. And it just kind of started to drift away. And around 29 or 30, I kind of like, wow, I got to do something else. I got to, there's this period of time where you're just thinking the phone's going to ring, the phone's going to ring. And it just never rang. And I decided to move on. And I started doing, other gigs.
Like what?
Well, there was, I was a limousine driver for a while. I was delivering pizzas for a while.
I heard that.
Yeah.
I didn't know if that was like an urban legend or something.
No,
Wow.
totally true. I don't remember I don't know if it was for very long, but I think it was probably 6 months or 7 months. I was married, had a couple of kids at the time. And I remember there was this one brutal delivery. I mean, it wasn't brutal. It was just kind of, a hit to the ego and, a painful sort of thing. But, kind of stupidly so on my part. We're all human beings. And we've got that side of us, that emotional. And, but I did this movie called Zoo Gang. And there's this, I forget the editor's name, but he's a really, really cool guy. And I, ding dong, got the pizza, and the guy answered the door. Jackie, oh, hey.
Oh, my goodness. Oh.
So he kind of tipped me good, and we had a good little moment, but I was walking away from there going, ouch, you know.
Well, and that's the thing I think people don't quite understand a lot of times. Well, he's a successful child actor, and he's, Kelly Leak, Bad News Bears, and Breaking Away, and all these great things you've done. It doesn't mean that you're making $1 million, and putting it in the bank for the rest of your life. Like, you got to get a job to pay the bills.
Yeah.
I don't think you realize how hard it is to be a working actor and never knowing where your next job is coming.
Yeah. And, I mean, life was just trudging forth, and I was kind of stuck in that mode of, but I had moved on, and I started, doing various things. I found myself kind of, with this one company that was a network marketing company, and my cousin got involved with this company. It was called The Right Solution, and it was nutraceuticals. It was kind of the same manufacturer that did Herbalife was kind of funding and trying to kick off this thing, and my cousin got into it. So I'm thinking, oh well, that whole get rich thing. I'm in.
Quick, yeah.
So we're having opportunity meetings, but what happened is I kind of hooked up with corporate and pitched them on being the guy to make their promotional videos, their opportunity videos. And I got the gig. And so I slowly kind of became vice president of communications for that company. That company ended up kind of spinning off into, the CEO ended up kind of creating another company, still involved with those guys, and moved to Las Vegas. And I started to, things were starting to happen. I then started to, after that job kind of ended, I had been in doing these promotional videos, these corporate videos, and decided to, start marketing that. And I started to build a business, ended up in San Antonio, Texas, with a friend of mine who was doing videos. And he actually had this production company that was co-owned by Anderson Advertising. And I went out there and kind of partnered up with him. We were doing commercials, Texas state commercials, local commercials, and corporate videos. Then I spun off from that, opened up JEH Productions in San Antonio, and for about 7 or 8 years, I was running that thing and doing
So you're
well.
back on your feet.
I was back on my feet and kind of found my footing and stuff. And then Steve Zaillian and Sean Penn remembered they were doing this movie called All the King's Men.
Right.
And Steve just was in his mind was like, wonder what happened to Jackie, because he would maybe be right for this part.
Had you worked together in the past?
No, I did with Sean.
Okay,
but it was this cool story. First off, I was out in I was on my honeymoon in France, and my partner at JEH Productions, called me. I got message through saying, "Hey, Steve Zaillian is looking for you, and they're considering you for this part in All the King's Men." And over the years, I'd hear little things like that would kind of come, and it just never comes to fruition. But there was something about this that just kind of felt different.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got back. I put together this audition tape. I had a production company, so we kind of shot this thing and, sent overnighted the VHS tape. Steve Zaillian liked what he saw. I got word that, Steve would like to talk to you, fly out to LA. So I'm like, oh, wow. And I do remember too, just to go back a little bit, I remember showing, it had been a long time since I acted. And I remember showing the tape to my wife after we made it. And she was like sitting there and she was like, dude, you're going to get this part.
Mm-hmm.
It was just this weird, it was just kind of the stars just kind of aligned on it. And so I went out, I kept talking to Steve, and it was a really cool meeting. He had all of the pictures on the wall. It was his office, and he's doing all of that stuff, kind of getting the tone and the feel, and all of these things in his office of All the King's Men and what he was going to do. So there was all of these neat older pictures, and Sean Penn was in it. Jude Law was starring in it.
It's a big
Mark
movie.
Ruffalo, and it was just all of these people. So this was really exciting. And so Steve and I were talking about it, and I'm like, so what made you think about me after all these years? And he's like, I don't know. I just remembered that you were really good and interesting in the in the 70s and early 80s and stuff, and we wondered what happened to you. And then he said, and so I put your name on this list, this kind of like short list of possibles. And then he said he was talking to Sean, and he said, hey, Sean, who do you think of for Sugar Boy? And Sean goes, how about Jackie Earle Haley? Just like out of the blue. I'd been out of it for 15 years, and Sean was just, my one name just comes flying out of his mouth, according to Steve. And then they got my audition tape, and so Steve and I go to lunch after this meeting. So the meeting's kind of continuing into a lunch, and he's going, that tape that you said you sent, all we sent you was this one scene, and you didn't know the rest of it. And it's like, how did you, it seemed like you just really kind of nailed this character. And I was like, I don't know, it just seemed to be there. And so, man, can tell Steve's going to lean over the table and he's going to go, so, will you do it? You want to be in it? So sure enough, at some point, he kind of leans over and he goes, I'd really like to cast you for this thing, but we already we couldn't find you. We cast this part.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And it was just like, oh my God. And so I'm just kind of like, dang, that was just a total letdown.
Yeah.
And, but he said, listen, I'm going to try to figure this out. This other actor kind of had, the manager was trying to get Steve to kind of lock it in because the other actor had this other thing that he could do. And Steve said, let me try to work it out. So I had no idea, if it would work out. But a week later, I got the call, and they had worked it out.
Oh, that's great.
Him and his team really did me a solid when they said, okay, man, cool. And they went and did this other thing.
It's incredible, though, 15 years of being away, and you come back and do this movie. And then the very next movie after that, you end up getting an Academy Award nomination. Like, that's really crazy.
Dude, it was crazy.
Yeah.
And it was it was also the type of thing where, doing All the King's Men, you kind of feel like, wow, this could maybe hopefully lead to getting this going. Because there's just something about, like, when you're an actor and that's what you do, and it's just kind of somehow in your soul.
Sure, of course.
You kind of want to do it.
Especially get the bug back again after 15 years.
Yeah. That's what I mean. It was just that bug, right? But you get this sense of like, oh, this thing could, I was almost just a glorified extra in that, in terms of, there was this one really cool scene, but it ended up kind of needing to be cut because it just wasn't quite fitting in the movie.
Yeah.
And, but at any rate, I remember asking Sean, it's like, what do you think I should do from, we're sitting in the car, like between takes, and it's like, what do you think I should do moving forward stuff? And he goes, man, dude, I don't know. He says, I've just kind of got my own thing. I don't know, I don't know, maybe check with like Endeavor or some sort of, an agency. And I get what he was saying, because people ask me like, how do I get into it? So I don't know. I've always just kind of been in it, you know. I have no idea to go about how to
start,
how to go about getting into acting. But at any rate, so I did. I was friends with after the movie was done. I was or actually kind of before I locked in all the King's Men. I called my buddy Miguel and said, hey, is it cool if I check with like your agency over at Gersh? Or maybe I did that the other way around. I think I checked with Gersh, and they called Miguel, and Miguel was like, yeah, man, yeah, he's a cool egg, So Warren Zavala over at Gersh at the time, he kind of like, it was weird, like nobody wanted to sign right away and stuff. Well, we'll help you lock in all the King's Men thing. And so I wasn't signed with them, but they helped me through that. He kind of hooked me up with my manager, Leslie Rice, at the time. So her and I were kind of an official relationship going in. So I had this manager.
Yeah.
So coming out of the movie, Warren had found this thing to maybe throw down an audition tape for Todd Field. And Kate Winslet, who is also in All the King's Men, she was starring in the movie. And Little Children.
Yeah, Little Children, yeah.
This one I kind of pulled out all the stops in terms of the audition reel. It was pretty, kind of extravagant and
it's
out
a dark
there.
character too, right?
Totally a dark character.
Yeah.
But I think I did an audition that was, I don't know, 15 minutes. I hung together a few scenes, and I always try to keep my auditions true to like being like a oneer, where you're not editing it, you don't do a bunch of angles. But I always kind of do my auditions where if there's a few scenes, I try to pick a place as opposed to just a camera up against the white wall. That just doesn't work for me. I kind of need to.
So you want to kind of do it on location or something?
Or just, and again, keep it as a oneer, but just kind of flow into it and work. It seems to work well. But but at any rate, just really kind of did this lengthy audition. We sent it to Todd, or Warren did. Todd was like, he was inspired by it. And I think too, the notion that Warren was kind of thinking is the part was written as a kind of like this, this overweight guy, but it's a guy that could have also been like, small and super skinny. You know what I mean? It was that kind of part. And he kind of felt like, Todd had to kind of definitely tick certain boxes for certain characters for foreign sales and stuff. Right. So he's got that with Kate, Jennifer Connelly, Patrick Wilson, I think was kind of coming up at the time, and that I think really launched him. But at any rate, so Todd was like, okay, I rewrote the ending, and I really kind of need to see that. So could you come into the office and read that? So I flew out there and worked on this scene, the new rewrite and stuff. And when he mentioned me to Kate was like, that sounds really good, and I like him. We got to know each other a bit on All the King's Men. Had some group dinners and stuff with the actors and stuff. Everybody was really gracious on that movie. It was a really cool experience. But she told Todd, if he comes in to read, I want to come in there and read with him.
That's cool. Yeah.
So it's like she was kind of, she was a real champion.
For you. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, between Todd and between Steve and Sean, in terms of just opening that door and letting me kind of back into that world that just evaded me, what Todd and Kate did was, I mean, they were the ones that, relaunched me into being able to have like an entire second career in this business. Cause that's kind of what it feels like, what I mean?
And I think Hollywood always likes that too. It's like the return of Jackie Earle Haley on such a big scale. It's kind of another, like you said, it's a success story, but it doesn't happen a lot with child actors transitioning to adult.
Yeah, that's I feel really fortunate along those lines.
How was it for you to be at the Oscars and be nominated? I mean, that's very rarefied air.
That was totally surreal. I mean, wildly surreal. There was so much going on, and it was happening so fast that my memory is like, it's a good thing that my wife was with me during that, because she'll tell me people we met. I'm like, we met those guys? You know what I mean? It was just, I think there was part of me, I was taking a lot in, but it was also just like, it was too much, man. You know, it was really, I remember my sister was a massage therapist. And during all of this, because that wasn't just the Oscars. It started like in October, where we did the whole independent film festival sort of thing. That's like New York Film Critics Awards, and you know, we were flying all over the place, and in the you know, Spirit Awards, or what, you know, whatever, the Golden Globes, and just, so this was going on and on and on for months, and then culminated at the Oscars. And did you remember one time? Again, my sister, professional massage therapist, she was like giving me a massage. Out of the blue, I just like broke down. All of a sudden, I was just started weeping. And I don't even understand it to this day, but it was just all of this emotion, just, you know. And she was like, "Hey man, it's cool. Everything's cool. You're fine." Yeah, it's really.
Who won the award, the Oscar?
This guy's a legend, Alan Arkin.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Not a bad guy to lose to.
Yeah.
Those are one of those ones though, when they say like they show the 5 boxes and it's Alan Arkin, and you like have to pretend that you're happy.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I really didn't expect to win the thing. I mean, it would have been great, right? I mean, I was kind of prepared. I will say this: there was this feeling during all of the build up to potentially getting that nomination. You know, that 3 months I was talking about. It seemed like this was a possibility, and I definitely kind of felt like any potential career might kind of hinge on that, on actually getting that. So that nomination.
Yeah.
So that, I will say, like, if that day it didn't happen, that might have been like, I need to go to a cabin for a month, right? After all of that, just decompress and rethink, like, okay, you know, where do we go from here? It would have been probably really disappointing. So when that, like, you got it. I remember like lying in bed. It was early. It's like 7 o'clock. I'm in there by myself. I think the wife got up early. She was watching the TV when they did the live announcements.
Right.
And she just came in and just like tears were streaming down her eyes. She was like, you got it. And it was just like,
that's amazing.
Now that whole day was another just surreal day. Just phones ringing off the hook. I had a couple of parties to go to that night, a friend's birthday party and another party. And it was just, you know, I was just
unbelievable,
kind of floating. Yeah. It was a trip.
What did you? I mean, once again, we mentioned that. I believe as a character was a pedophile, maybe in Little Children. And we're talking about this because your new movie, your host, you play another unhinged character, like you mentioned. But when you're playing, for example, Little Children, what are you tapping into to create such an amazing performance that worthy of an Academy Award nomination?
Things that get nominated, there's a whole lot going on in there. You know, it's kind of, it usually needs to be a movie that's just incredibly well done, well written, great performances everywhere. You know what I mean? Where everything jives, because you can be like, you know, really good, like great in a movie that just never, you know, never, you know what I mean? It's just not gonna make it. So it's like the fidelity of Todd Field and his directing, his ability, you know, to recognize a good script and then to get in there and like tweak it. You know, to cast the way he did. Kate Winslet's performance in that is amazing. I would have loved to have seen her win that year, you know, and you know, there was definitely like more that we shot that didn't make it in there, so I had more to work with. But first off, you kind of start looking at, you know, finding the truth of that character in what's there, you know, and thinking through it and rolling through it, and then to me, I always try to find these parallels within myself that maybe is a truth to me emotionally, that's about me, Jackie. And even if it's a distant parallel to the, you know, to the main character, it's still a truth and an emotional truth that I can still kind of give to that character. And the whole world kind of has a tendency to think in black and white. And we all do, you know what I mean? And I think we kind of rightfully think of, you know, child predator like that as a just evil, and it's a natural response, and that's my response as well. But when you're playing a guy like that, you have to kind of also look for the humanity, because there's that's why I'm looking for the parallels in myself. It's like, well, okay, what is a guy that's a child predator? Why does he do it? And I think at the end of the day, most would really love to not be that guy, to not have that be that thing. Because I think, when it comes to our sexuality, it's obviously a critical part of everybody's life, and everybody, has attractions and non-attractions. And so for people like that, they're just, attracted to the worst possible thing that they can be attracted to. And it's horrible. And I really kind of felt that even on paper for this guy, he didn't want to be that guy, but he couldn't help it.
Right.
So there's things in my life, early on and later on, where I've definitely had, there's something about me that has a desire for, drugs and alcohol that, I wish I wasn't that guy, that, I wish I was like, could control that better. And there's times where I just haven't, been able to, right? And it goes on and it goes on and it goes on, and until your body, luckily my body reached a point where it said, dude, you're done. You're done. You're just done. And another thing, and one that I felt that was even more compelling than that, and also the same thing with cigarettes. I mean, for cigarettes, and I got another one after that, but with cigarettes, man, I did 10 years without smoking. Started smoking cigars thinking, I could do this. And that worked for a while. I could kind of do that for a while. And then suddenly I was kind of smoking cigarettes again. And then I realized, man, I really got to quit cigarettes. So I'm going to switch to nicotine gum. So I'm chewing nicotine gum for way too long until my throat starts to bother me. And then I realized, I got to quit this nicotine gum. I'm going to switch to the patch. And then I'm wearing the patch forever, and I'm going, this patch, I don't know, I'm really worried about this. I'm going to go ahead and start smoking again. And finally, I found this book by the name of Alan Carr, it was Alan Carr's Easy Way to Quit Smoking. And this guy, that's a whole nother story, but for some reason, this guy psychologically, in this book that's kind of poorly written, but it's a great message, and it's, and some people that can really take it to heart. And after I read this book, I put out a cigarette, haven't smoked since.
Oh, wow.
And I don't even know how long ago that was.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But the one thing that I could really, really tie to this character more than the others, and this is insane because it's a much more milder thing, but was the fact that I'm a nail biter.
Wow. Me too.
And that thing is, your fingers are already, alcohol you can push away.
Yeah.
At a certain point, you can just make it not in the room, right?
Yeah.
Cigarettes, and you can push that away, and they're just not in the room. To where if you think about it, well, then if you're going to do it, you got to go through all these steps. You probably talk yourself out of it before you get there. But your fingers are always there. And I've got nails now. I have kind of whooped this, but there's been times where, man, and I don't just bite them. Once I start, if I don't get it under control, I am always still fighting it, because I'll kind of peel off one and like, it's a rule for me to have a nail file around, because if you leave a hanging edge, that sucker will just drive you nuts. I was like, let me just do it. I'll file out that edge with my teeth. Right. That never works. You gotta grab a file and get it to where it's like, okay, it's not gonna call my name. Now I'm like, but
it's a concept of addiction, and being addicted to something bad is how you were able to relate to the character. Yeah,
it's like that's something I just continually battle with, and it's really hard to put that monkey away. And I think for a character like Ronnie McGorby, there is a I kind of find that humanity in him, and because I know that character absolutely regrets who he is and what he wants, and he's fighting it, man. I mean, you can tell just by the length that he went, the trauma of losing his mom and then wanting to change who he was. He did the one thing that he could do. And by the way, that wasn't in the book. Tom Prada, after after Todd came up with that.
Which is what did he do?
He's the writer of the book.
No, but what did Ronnie do?
He took that knife and kind of cut off his nads.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, he just
That's
he
the only
took
thing
it out of the room. He took it out.
That's right. Yeah, yeah.
It's no longer there. But and what was cool is I remember talking to Tom. Tom was like, "Yeah, it would have been good in the book." It was just one of those things. And Todd, Todd was always kind of messing with the script, and when that hit him, it was cool. Yeah.
Let's talk about your host, your new movie where you play another sunny, pleasant man.
Yes.
Barry. I didn't know what to expect, and when I watched the film, it's really good. It's a little bit batshit crazy, and your performance is incredible. Great job.
Thanks.
Playing this unhinged psycho who traps these people and gets some revenge, shall we say. But talk about this character in this film.
This character was, is like you said, absolutely batshit crazy.
Yeah.
The movie is this is what's cool. Like, a film like this, it's in such a different genre. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's just the horror genre.
Yeah.
And it's the type of horror genre where it's literally like a Saw meets Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah.
And that's an odd mix, but it creates a villain that's just really unexpected. An untypical sort of villain, because this guy, he's a showman. He's got a kind of a charismatic side to him, that in his mind, he's putting on this show, right? But he's also kind of utterly unhinged and batshit crazy, because he's got these conflicting things going on within him. But, again, something kind of happened to him that really his life in a large way. And it ruined him. And so he's fancying himself as this game show host. He really kind of wanted to hang on to this thing. And he built this makeshift game show stage, in like a gritty kind of warehouse scenario. He's complete with his own mannequin audience. He's got lighting cues, and he's got sound effects and things, and he's being like the consummate game show host, right? But he's got these contestants, and they're all chained to the wall, because it's a horror movie.
Yeah.
That's what you do in a horror movie. You chain people to the wall.
Yeah.
And he kind of puts these guys through, a series of sadistic sort of games, and these actors are great. So they're British actors playing Americans.
Oh, okay.
And they did a really good job, but they're in quite this predicament, because they're trying to figure out, who is this guy? Why did he capture us? Why did he bring us here? Do we know him? Does somebody here know him? Are one of you in on this? Is this a joke? I mean, they're just slowly trying to figure this out. Meanwhile, this guy who's kind of just this game show guy, also that other side just keeps flipping out. It's all over the place, where he's kind of bouncing off the walls. They can tell, the audience can tell, that he's tracking, but not really. This guy he's off.
Yeah.
And to me, that's a really kind of interesting horror villain character, instead of somebody that just plods evilly along. It's like, if you're captured by somebody who's just not making sense, that's got to be like, how do we deal with this? I mean, what do you try to plead to in that character? How do you try to say, hey,
how do you rationalize it?
How do we try to get this guy to maybe let us go? If what do we hook onto? But he keeps kind of, you start to get the sense that, okay, this guy, he's psychologically messing with their heads as all of this is going on. And it seems like he's trying to pull something out of them. And he keeps kind of pushing them towards slowly, the tension's kind of building, the psychological terror aspect and the horror aspect is just pushing them to kind of realizing exactly why they're there. And there is a reason why they're all there, and it's really personal for the host. And that's why this host is unhinged, why he utterly lost his shit, why he's become this this guy that is very he was this guy that really had his shit together, really loved his life, He was doing well, running, being a game show host, a real life game show host. And then after this trauma thing happened to him, a piece of him really wanted to kind of hold on to that, but it needed to be of a different purpose. Because one of the ways I kind of look at this is there's the quick answer, or the quick notion is that he was really kind of all about good his whole life, or at least in his mind, right? We don't know exactly what this guy's done or not done, but in his mind, he was a good guy. He was playing this daily game show where people would come in, and it was just all about warm fuzzies,
popular,
giving away prizes, and free vacations, or a new kitchen, or new bedroom set,
right.
And it was just wonderful. And so he was kind of a guy that did good thing for good people. And when shit kind of happened to him, he kind of found this purpose in this other game show that he put together, to where he could still kind of do his thing, but he started to realize that life is this game, and there are a lot of bad people. So his purpose now is, he's not, this one right here is very personal, but he's going to do bad things to people who have done bad things.
The thing I like about it is, like in wrestling, we do this. If you're a bad guy, the heel, it's always good to have something that's true that you're clinging to, and you can take it wherever you want. But that one little kernel of truth makes you believe in what you're saying and makes you feel that you're the hero. That's what happens with the host, and that's something he really didn't. He really is falsely accused, unjustly accused, and then his entire world falls apart, and now he has to get revenge. But deep down inside, you're kind of like, well, I mean, killing them might be a little bit too far, but he's in the right to want to get some sort of revenge on these people who, unjustly accused him.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly it. I mean, I love that.
Yeah,
like what you're describing. It's like that's a very similar thing with acting. I mean, that you guys were doing in that sense of finding that you're dealing with this character, and man, there's a big difference between like, acting something, but meaning it.
Yeah.
When you mean it and it's your truth, or that character's truth, and you're owning it, it just lights things up.
You believe you're doing the right thing, no matter how ridiculous and how buried it is. But in my mind, this is right. This is what I should be doing,
Yeah. And of course, horror movies, right? It pushes it to these crazy extremes, which is kind of, really, kind of fun to deal with. So. Is
it cool for you, once again, talking about 50 years of being a working actor, when you get a script like this and realize, I can really sink my teeth in this, because you can ham it up and you can scene chew a bit, but you're having a good time with it, obviously.
Yeah, and always trying to ground it too, in that weird, like the kernels of truth, even nuttily, what I mean? Because that kernel is also what makes him a nut, right? But yeah, when I read the script, I was I was kind of scared, because like, oh man, this character is just driving this thing, right? There's like, a lot of horror characters just kind of pop in every here and there.
Yeah.
The first draft, the character was completely in a mask, like a full mask.
Okay. Yeah.
And so we're kind of looking at that, and I think everybody was realizing, the director was thinking this, and the producers, we all kind of realized that, a full mask with this guy trying to for an hour and a half. It's like, it's one thing if he pops in every now and then, right? Full mask would be great, but he's talking too much. I mean, there's page after page after page. So we decided to kind of go after that Phantom of the Opera kind of thing,
half mask,
to where it really kind of works. I think, from the standpoint of, like, when you watch it, you see enough of the face to where you're still getting to what you need to kind of get there, and he's still kind of masked, but yeah. So I'm reading the script. I was definitely kind of scared, looking at not only the just this character's insane, this is this huge thing, he's driving it, but I'm also looking at it going like, man, is this thing read play like? Can you do like a play horror movie? And luckily, when I saw the movie, it was like, okay, that didn't look anything like a play. You know what I mean? Because it moves. But on paper, it's like, put it this way, like every time we would attack a section of that script, it was almost always 5 minutes at least between action and cut. You know what I mean? So that's a good long scene.
Yeah.
Doesn't feel that way because we shot all these multiple angles and it's moving. So feels way more kinetic than a stage play does. Because stage plays have a tendency, you know what I mean? It's a different experience.
Yeah, different vibe.
So it
yeah.
isn't that. And I was thrilled when I saw it going,
Yeah.
okay, thank God that was cool. There was one sequence, Chris, where I swear to God, between action and cut, it was 15 minutes.
That's long. That's
Was
crazy.
like a stage play.
What sequence was that? Do you recall?
Oh man, I think it's when he comes in and he hangs his jacket and he's right in front of the wheel, the wheel, and I forget if he mentions it right there or what, but
It's a long scene though.
it's kind of felt like to me when I was working on it and looking at it and running it, you know, trying to bury all of that dialogue into my head. You know, I would break things down into pretty much what we ended up kind of doing, except for this one area. I think I had it in two. That I felt it probably would have been broken down into that. But we ran several of the shots in that full 15-minute. There was parts where, stop that. You're good at this. You haven't touched it once. Total pro. Show one for me, sure. Show 1,600 for you. Yeah, you know, all of the various angles sometimes would be less than that, but a lot of them were still that full on 15 minutes, and it was crazy. It was super challenging. That was definitely something I saw in that script. Was going like, okay, it's scary, but definitely super challenging.
Yes.
Just from again knowing it's driving it, knowing there's a lot going on there, and then also, you know, what do I do with it? You know, and the more I just looked at it, the more I just realized, okay, this guy is definitely insane. It's written like he's insane, so I definitely have to own that aspect. And I you know, I definitely talked to DW about that, and the producers Seth and Sada Michaels, and you know, everybody agreed. Oh yeah, this guy's insane. You know, it definitely needs to be that on paper, and in a lot of talks with DW, you know, it was also clear that, you know, the stuff is on the page. Like there's times where this guy's definitely a game show host mode, you know, and in times where that kind of, you know, he starts to lose it, or it just starts to get more personal. And to me, I think we were definitely, and I think with DW, we kind of look at it to where, you know, it starts off a little more game show mode, you know, and everything's kind of formal, but then it slowly starts to, you lose that sense, and he's losing that sense a little bit more and more, and it starts to leave that a bit, you know. It comes back, but it just becomes less and less. So there's this cool kind of traveling through the story to make sure that the story doesn't just go look the same. There's various things that I was thinking about performance wise that gives it that travel, just and DW was as well, to where you know, you get a sense of you know, a growing sense of change and movement. I say travel, movement's maybe a better word, but you know,
like I said, it was fun to watch you play because it's a character that you're creating and moving with. I wanted to ask you also about when you played a character that was already iconic in Freddy Krueger a few years ago, and playing your own version of this. Once again, though, it's a very iconic character that Robert, you know, Englund had created. How did you approach playing that part?
Well, that, you know, gosh, that's a whole different kind of animal. That one was scary for another reason.
Yeah.
Because you know you're going to take shit.
Yeah.
No matter what. You hope. You know, you hope and pray that, oh, you know, it had been a while. They were, you know, it was definitely kind of a, you know, they were going in kind of for a higher end sort of thing with the production. I think they had a good budget, and Sam Bayer had a you know, great sense of, it's a really good DP. He wasn't the DP, but as a director, he knew to get like really cool shots and stuff. But you know, I think, you know, talking with Sam, that it really seemed that they wanted to go back to the roots of a scary Freddy. You know, of a dark Freddy. So I just really tried to, you know, kind of own that sense of, all right, let's take this guy, and I think, you know, that's kind of how Freddy started out.
Yes,
know,
absolutely.
In that first one.
Yeah.
And you know, they darkened him up a little bit more. I think it would have been cool had they kind of not quite done that. You know, there is a version where this guy could have been innocent.
Oh, okay.
But they made him guilty. But that also was, I think, Wes Craven's initial version of this, is that's who that character was. and he had to lighten that up for, you know, when he made them. And so these guys kind of felt like, well, let's kind of put that in there. Yeah, that was kind of a similar process, like we were talking about. You find that kernel of truth with this guy, where, you know, evil people don't know they're evil. You know what I mean? They just don't know. So even you can have somebody like like your host was seemingly, completely, innocent, kind of wrongfully accused.
Yeah.
But you can also have a character who's done some, horrible things, that something horrible happened to him, and that's the only thing he's focusing on.
Yeah, that's his justification.
He never with that. Yeah, Freddy should have had this scene where he's like, I really shouldn't have done that to those kids. Maybe I deserve being burned. It's a short movie.
The end.
but so all he can focus on is like, those guys turned him into the dream demon, by burning him to death.
How long of a process was it to get the makeup on?
No, it's pretty brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah, that started as, I remember the very first time, Andrew Clement is a designer of that. And I think they did a great job with it.
I thought it was great.
For some reason that one's met with some people just, it's kind of that way with the movie now. I think the movie's kind of caught on a little bit more with the younger people that aren't so attached to the first one. But you've got people that just, that hate it. But there's a lot of people that love it just because it looks more realistic. It looks like this guy got burned.
It's also a modern adaptation of this, right? Yeah.
I think that was the whole idea, is to try to give try to give a lot of what the first movie was, but put a modern adaptation to it. But at any rate, Andrew did a great job of designing this thing, and when him and Bart Mixon first put me into it, it was like 7.5 hours.
Wow.
Because it's
this is every day?
No.
Oh.
When they first did it, because they're putting it on and then they're painting it, and it's the art is still going on. And then that would get down to like 5 hours, and then 4. And then once it was like clear, like this is the look. And then they could even start kind of pre-painting things instead of putting them on raw and then painting them. So once they got down to that, then it got to 3 hours. And then as we were rolling along, it got to a brisk 2 hours and 45 minutes.
Wow.
Sitting in the chair, having, just coming in and starting to, man, I'll never forget. You reach a point where they, you're so like, this shit's getting old. All right, here we go. You're finally in, you've had your coffee, and it's like whatever time it is, and that first little paintbrush in the glue. Then it's here it is. Oh, here it is again. It was just like, oh my God. And then 2.5 hours, and then it took an hour to get out.
Wow.
Just to get out. And luckily we didn't do a lot of back-to-back days. And by design, that's like something that, it's just not wise to do that back-to-back. But there was definitely some parts in the schedule where I think we had to do that like a few times. And I remember, man, there was some nights where you get wrapped. You almost ask yourself, too. You're just like, should I just leave this on?
Yeah,
and that just doesn't work. But there was many nights of going home where you're lying in bed and you go, my God, I feel like I'm wearing all the makeup.
Oh,
it just feels like it's called phantom makeup.
You know
what I mean?
Like phantom limb.
Yeah. But you would swear it's like, oh, that shit's just, if I need to touch my face because I really feel like all that makeup is still on my face. But yeah, that was a nightmare.
No pun intended.
Yeah.
Let's talk about one of my all-time favorite movies, and I wanted to leave it towards the end. Kevin Smith and I obsess about Bad News Bears, and of course, Breaking Training, which in my opinion might even be better. Let's talk about it. Kelly Leak. There's probably lots of memories that you have, but just talk about that time frame. And first of all, getting cast in the Bad News Bears. Obviously, no one knew how big it would become, but it's still an iconic movie. I showed it to my kids; they'll show it to their kids. It still holds up to this day.
Yeah, that movie like lives on in a big way.
Yeah,
like when I go do conventions and stuff, Like definitely sell like a lot of Freddy pictures and a lot
Gosh, yeah.
of Rorschach pictures and
Right.
stuff. But it is amazing how many people come up like with baseballs or want a Bad News Bears thing or here sign my jersey.
Yeah.
And some of those people will be in their 30s,
Right.
which is really surprising because you don't expect it from guys my age.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that was a trip. I was like, I think 13. I had already been acting for years, but this was, I guess, probably a really good break. I was in Day of the Locust, which is another big film, and I played, but but this part really kind of launched the acting career to this other level, because Kelly Leak was kind of an iconic character.
Yeah.
Kids,
a great character.
Yeah, it's like everybody wanted to be him, including me. You know what I mean? That's probably why I smoke cigarettes. I can't tell you how many people have told me, it's like, I smoke cigarettes because of you.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Don't smoke, kid. It'll stunt your growth.
Yeah. See? See what happened?
Do you remember audition? Did you have to audition for that, or did you just get the offer?
Yeah, I totally remember auditioning for that. And I remember being, kind of half remember it. I remember going in and reading something. I don't know what I read, and I remember my hair was very similar to the way Stanley Jappy was wearing his. And I swear to this day that Stanley might have saw a little bit of him in me.
Was he the casting director?
He was the producer.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah.
Somehow I was also being short. I was a little bit older than how old. I think the kids were supposed to be about 12.
Yeah.
And most everybody was 12. So I could still kind of appear that age being short and, have a little bit more of the cool that starts to take place, between 12 and 14 that I could bring to the part.
Yeah.
Or at least pretend to be that guy. And I remember that one of the things before getting cast, they started to do ensemble sort of things where they would bring groups of kids together. We even kind of had to go out into, this was at Paramount, and there was an open parking lot in and around there. I'm sure there's a stage there now. Probably no square inch that's not built on. But we were out there like throwing balls around and playing a little baseball, and they were trying to kind of figure it out. And when they finally chose, I was Kelly.
It's such and what a great part to the delinquent that ends up being one of the saviors of the team. And how was it working with someone like Tatum O'Neal? I think had even won an Oscar at that point. She
did, yeah.
Walter Matthau, one of the all-time greats. I mean, talk about kind of what you remember learning and working with those types of legends.
I remember when we were, I can't remember quite when Tatum was cast. If she had already been cast, she might have been cast. But I remember we were all of the kids, minus Tatum, were in doing something, either rehearsing or whatever, and everybody's being unruly. And we heard that Walter Matthau got cast, and we all knew who it was, which is kind of bizarre for kids. But that was the media of the day, right?
Yeah.
Only so much media, so everybody was stoked by that notion. And of course with Tatum in it, so that felt like, oh, this is cool. This is, of course your concerns at that age are so different, but it was still exciting and cool, and we're going to go to this movie. Nobody had any idea it was going to be this huge thing, but we knew Walter was huge, and I think everybody told us that Michael Ritchie was huge coming off of the things that he had been working on, and it was a really cool experience, playing that guy and working across from Tatum and with the other kids and getting to happen to learn how to ride a motorcycle. That was pretty dope. So really kind of neat things. What was funny is I was actually smoking cigarettes at that time.
For real.
Yeah. 14 years. I had been smoking for years. I think my brother taught me when I was
all of us smoked back then. Yeah.
I think my brother had me inhaling when I was 5. So it was bad influence. But in any rate, I remember we were using real cigarettes, and I was kind of in this predicament where, okay, now I need to act like I know how to smoke, but probably shouldn't inhale because then my dad will know I know how to smoke. Yeah. So I'm like playing to two audiences here, so I'm not inhaling. And I do remember at one point in time, between takes, sometimes I'd be, what was it? Oh no, I know what we were actually. We weren't using real cigarettes. We were using lettuce leaf cigarettes. That's what it was.
Gotcha.
So I wasn't, but the same predicament. I could have inhaled those. People do, and so what happened though is I do remember one time I'm sitting there, kind of between takes, ripping open a cigarette butt, and there's a bug in there, and then from there we started using real cigarettes. But I still had to do this performance thing for my dad.
It's funny when you watch it too, because it's so 70s, politically incorrect in so many ways.
Yeah.
But it's great. I love it too. Like the kids the 12 of you guys, whatever, in his open convertible, sitting in the back. Kids are drinking beer. Kids are smoking cigarettes. It's like, what a tremendous movie to watch when you're 9 years old, right?
Yeah. And it was. I think we all kind of felt too that it was like this was just the way it really. I mean, some exaggerations. It's not like everybody was drinking beer and stuff, but in terms of all the politically incorrect and all of the curse words and everything, it was like that was just school.
Yeah.
Just
the way it was back then.
Yeah.
What do you think the appeal is for Bad News Bears as to why it's so eternal and why it does hold up after all these years?
I think from what I just said, I think there's something about it that, well, first off, it's the great underdog movie.
And they don't win, which I love.
Yeah.
That's
we shot that both ways, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just to they wanted to hedge their bet, but everybody kind of felt like they shouldn't win because it was like a win without a win.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They got that far.
Yeah. So it kind of makes it a more poignant win, really. So it was a good thing that the studio kind of saw that.
What about with Breaking Training? You're now the star of the movie. They basically built that whole movie around Kelly Leak.
I always kind of like to call these movies, the way I've always seen this was that the Bad News Bears was this real poignant, well-written drama, baseball film, for lack of better words, kind of Academy type movie.
Yes, it's one of the classic sports films.
This real poignant thing. Breaking Training was kind of more like summer fun.
Yeah,
summer fun film.
A road movie.
Road movie. Yeah. And then the third one, Bad News Bears Go to Japan, was like one of the worst movies ever made. I
didn't mention that one.
So it's like brilliant movie, summer fun movie, horseshit movie. But Breaking Training, that was really cool because now at that time I'm like 15 or 16, but there's a big difference between the 13 and or 14 and the 15. And my hair was I was much taller. I was about this tall then. But the longer hair, much kind of older kids. So now I'm 16 and the other kids are like 13, 14. And that was a really cool experience playing that guy. I think what was really neat was like literally going on the road.
Yeah.
The movie, we flew to Houston, spent a lot of time in Houston, made most of it out there. Shot some of it in El Paso and LA at the ballpark. And that was it was neat. It was really cool.
It's one of those ones, once again, watching it as a kid, you're like, man, that'd be so cool if we could just get in a van with our friends and our parents think we're fine. And the hello, how are you? Hello, how are you? The kind of old guy that's kind of clued out. He's the coach. And I was just like, man, this is such a even like I said, watching it back now, it's such a fun movie to watch, like you mentioned, because of the time frame, because of the scenario. And once again, then Kelly Leak meets his dad, William Devane. It's a lot of heart to that one.
Yeah.
And there is in Bad News Bears as well, but it's a little bit deeper in Breaking Training. It's a little bit more serious.
Yeah, for the Kelly side of it. Yeah, with his relationship with his dad, which is really cool. I hear like people kind of will oddly quote that thing back on socials, something about the bike. I forget the lines, but
With the two of you arguing, you mean? Or?
Yeah, when we were playing like pool or whatever, that's the real kind of father-son moment of him kind of calling his dad out for leaving, and his dad, of course, just trying to defend life and the complexities thereof, but he manages to convince him to come coach the team, That was like, it was well written, and it was neat kind of having that depth to that character, it says a lot about, this kind of loner biker troublemaker dude.
But once again, too, you could see how good of an actor you were at the time. And that's why, like, when I started hearing about you making the big comeback, I was like, it's no surprise because this guy's a great actor, even in breaking away. I always want to say breaking training, breaking away. You had it even back then as a teenager. You could carry a movie like Breaking Training. You carry it. So I thought that was kind of really cool to see that even back then you could see the chops that you had.
Thanks. It's just this thing I started so young,
Yeah.
you know, and it's like, you know, all of the, you know, I never really did much studying, but it's kind of, but at the same time, that statement doesn't quite apply because I did do a lot of studying. It just happened to all be on movie sets, you know, and like real world stuff and talking to people and working with people and you know, and I continue to learn. Like when I came back, I had this guy traveling with me. He was kind of he was an assistant guy, but also I called him, you know, kind of acting coach from the standpoint. He used to work at the Strasberg Institute, and what was funny is when he was there, he mostly discovered the Meisner side of things. But we would have these like just long conversations, you know, when we were kind of working on things and running things. And it's like I continue to try to learn more and more. A lot of it's just by doing, but it's just always kind of seeking that presence, you know, that finding that kernel of truth, you know, whether it's in me or whatever it is, and finding that thing to kind of then sink into and learn who this character is, find his truth, how I can apply that to it, but then to sink in and live in these in a role in such a way where, and it's never perfect, right? And it's take to take, you know, it's like, you know, sometimes I'll fall into a trap of trying to do something over and over the same way to kind of nail it.
Yeah.
And it's like that's kind of the wrong approach. It's almost better off if I'm always start something, know what the intent is, always live the intent, and then hopefully have stuff so ingrained that once you're in it, it's just happening for the first time, and you know your intent, and you just try to actually be and feed more off of the other person and be present between action and cut to where it's you're acting, but you want it to feel like you're not. You're just present, and it's real, and that moment is just its own little world, and that's all that matters, and you're there, you know. I don't know if that makes sense, but
no, that's good. That's the last couple questions for you, Jackie. Do you have a favorite scene from one of the Bad News Bears films that stands out for you?
You know, I think there's something really cool about that hockey scene, air hockey with Tatum. That's always been kind of cool.
That's good. Yeah, that whole scene in the arcade and the date that you go on.
Yeah, that was really kind of a telling thing for that character. You know, as we're getting to know him. And then I think, you know, I don't know if I would have said this had you not pointed it out, but the scene with William Devane was I think that was a scene that kind of, you know, might have been not only telling to that character, but maybe even my career in the standpoint of like, you know, that was, I can't remember if maybe that was at the time one of the more meaningful scenes in terms of the emotional content and the backstory, because you know I'm such a young character who's got this backstory that's weighing, you know.
I like the scene. I think it's the first one where he's trying to pick up the older chick, and he's like, "Yeah, I play baseball with the Bears. You heard of us?" She just kind of walks away.
Yeah, that's definitely a cute one. That's a funny one.
Last question for you. We talked about just a short little chunk of your career. Is there a role that stands out for you? Besides the one that you were Academy Award nominated for, that stands out for you as one of your favorites, as one of the favorite roles you've played?
Rorschach.
Oh, we didn't even mention Rorschach.
For sure, yeah.
That's from the
Watchmen.
Watchmen.
Yeah, that one is it. That's like the part that just keeps giving. Like people love that character, but also playing that character, working with that amazing cast, and working with Zach and his passion for that story was really contagious. I mean, we all ended up getting the comic book. We could see that he was almost going frame for frame with it. We would study that even in you know, in approaching a scene ourselves. We would go, you know, Zach didn't say, well, do that. You know, we would kind of go in there and almost just get into that's the starting point right there. It's in the comic book. And yeah, really kind of digging into that one, because that was another dark, complex character with this gnarly backstory that, kind of was, very just a thing that pushed him into being who he is and who he was. And yeah, that was a real highlight. Yeah, and I love the movie.
It's amazing. Like you said, you must go to the Comic-Cons and clean up besides Rorschach and Kelly Leak and Freddy Krueger. And now your host, Barry.
The host.
Dude, it's great meeting you, man.
You as well.
My pleasure. We'll have to take a picture. I'll send it to Kevin Smith. He'll flip out.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Yeah. Let's do that.
Thanks, dude.
Cool, thanks. Appreciate it.